I was just starting my professional career in football. It made sense for me to stay here. This became the place we knew. In business, it was going out, transitioning from football without anger, without attitude, without regret. And then in a short period of time, completely owning the entire market of Michigan.
Yep.
And then from there, taking over the entire Florida market and growing that one as well.
I can personally see a direct correlation to the ups and downs of business and how that molded you to be able to take those hits.
That constant growth and learning, which is what makes it so exciting.
That's what gives you hope.
No one wants their legacy to be buried and placed underneath something.
Well, first of all, thank you. Yeah, I was just talking to Tom. He's like, Dylan, you realize it's a Thursday afternoon and you're about to talk to like Herman Moore, like Lions legend Herman Moore. And sometimes I have to like brace myself because like when I started this podcast, dude, I was like, I'm just going to talk to some people. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So it's cool. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
This is exciting. So I got a couple fun questions for you. I mean, the first thing I want to know, like, why'd you stay in Michigan? Because there's so many athletes, they make their money, they do their thing, and then they go to California, they go to Florida. Like, why'd you stay?
Well, no argument there, because if anyone who knows about the East Coast, they understand where the University of Virginia is in Charlottesville, and then also just Virginia as a whole. It's a beautiful state, and you get all 4 distinctive seasons. A lot of people ask that, and the time when our season ends is typically a lot of snow here in Michigan. Yeah. And you would think I would want to be like the snowbirds who want to leave and go back to Florida, go back to warmer weather. But my kids were born here. When I came here, started my family in 91, and my first son was born in 92. So it was their birthplace. It was establishing my roots there. I was just starting my professional career in football. So it made sense. It made sense for me to stay here. And then as I stayed here and the family became more acclimated to being here, and this became the place we knew, eventually Michigan has surpassed me. This is the place I've been. This is my longest tenure in terms of staying in a state and living somewhere in my entire life, even more so than my birth state.
Huh. I heard a rumor. I want to know if this is true. So when you got drafted by the Lions, and I don't know if this is the case, I heard a rumor that your rookie year, it was okay. But it's because you couldn't see the ball great.
It wasn't. It was far
Is
from
that
okay.
true?
They were being kind to you.
Okay.
If they said my first year was okay.
Because I don't want to show my age or show your age at this. I
course.
wasn't really like, I don't even really know how old I was back that season.
It was a bad year.
Yeah. So what happened?
So it was started out. I came in highly confident, first round draft pick out of Virginia, 10th pick overall, first receiver taken. And what people didn't know is I wore glasses. And back then, the contact lenses were cool. You transition from your glasses, you put in the contact lenses. It was a whole process, right? With cleaning the solution, and you got to do all this stuff. And it became, because of the workload and the schedule, it became very tedious. It became a lot of work. And while I could get away with it at certain times at practice, because it was just, for some reason it worked in practice. And you roll into my first home game, and we're playing against the team, and I started dropping passes, and I was known for having sticky hands, like not like
hands
being not being a thief or anything, like going to steal and stuff.
It's
but
embarrassing, the hand size.
I mean,
that's crazy.
They've gotten a little damage on them now, but when I came in, it was like I was known for being a true hands catcher, a pass catcher, very dependable, very reliable, and ultimately under the bright lights. My first time being under the bright lights, first pass came out. It was a real quick. It was a run and shoot kind of altered offense. I ran a real quick out route, and I dropped it. It was right on me. It was only like a 3-yard route. And I was like, wow, no big deal.
Yeah,
big
maybe
crowd.
Some nerves, rookie,
big
whatever.
Thing,
yeah.
People were in the Silver Dome. It's a beautiful place. At the time, it was loud, intimidating stadium. And the coach said, run it again. I ran the route again. Same route. Threw it to me. I dropped that one. So all of a sudden, you get a little bit of the rumbling that you can hear in the stadium. And he said, run it again. 3rd down, 3rd and 10. And after this time, everyone's looking at me kind of side-eyed in the huddle.
What's going on?
Like, we know, we seen you at practice. Like, what's going on? And then I ran out, and it was slightly behind me, a little high behind me, and I dropped it. And it was the first time I'd ever heard booing, and I got booed.
First game.
First game. And from then, it wasn't a shock to my confidence, but it was just different. And I don't know what happened in that piece. And then a lot of people said, you know what, I think it's because, he's got nerves, he's got whatever, but people didn't realize I wasn't wearing my contacts. I decided to just kind of go at it and do it on my own. And that's really all it was.
Huh. And then did you just go the whole season that way?
I went, the damage was done. This was a team of veteran players. You had a highly competitive receiving unit. We had a lot of uncertainty and volatility at the quarterback position. So
yeah,
they didn't want to mess around with it at all. We had superstar and Barry Sanders already established himself, but it was one of those deals, man. You deal with it, you roll with it.
Yeah, so who's Scott Mitchell? I wrote his name down.
Oh, man, Scott Mitchell.
Because I heard he wasn't a fan favorite.
Yeah, he may not be a fan favorite, but he's my favorite QB.
Really?
And I don't say that to, I love all my teammates.
Sure.
I respect any of the guys that threw me passes, but the one that I had the longest tenure with in terms of consistency and playing with is where I really had my peak years, and that was with Scott Mitchell. And he would get blamed for a lot of things that I will stand up to this day and say he's not the responsible party. You're in a team sport. And in there, we all have responsibilities. Maybe I'm running not as great routes. Maybe I drop passes. Maybe we got, as great as Barry Sanders is, he's not always hitting positive yards. Linemen are all pros, but they're missing blocks or they get beat on things. Like, there's a culmination of all these things that are happening. But at the end of it, it's a team sport. And I enjoyed playing with him. I thought he was a really good, quarterback passer, and had a great rapport with him. So I stand up for him, and people can have their opinion and disagree, and that's fair.
Yeah,
it's fair.
Because I'm learning all this for the first time because I was young when all this was happening, so I don't really remember this era.
Right.
At all. So this is
right. And I'm not going to be a fan favorite, among everyone. Some people may say, these other guys that are better or whatever, but I really enjoyed playing with Scott Mitchell. He was one of several. I will tell you right now, I would be super impressed, even if you were to go look it up, if you could name 14 of the quarterbacks that I played with. Oh, no. It was more than that, but I'll limit you to just 14.
Can I tell you?
I won't have you hurt your brain on that.
No, you're good. Like the oldest quarterback I think I remember was John Kitna. Like that.
And that's after me.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
All right, so you don't go back but so far.
No, right.
Okay.
That's the live remember watching him play that quarterback. I think there was another one I can't remember before, but yeah. Then we had Dante Culpepper for a little bit.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Came in a little bit after he left the Vikings.
The Vikings. And so that's kind of when my first memories of like live watching was that. Yeah. That we got Roy Williams and then
I'm actually impressed because being that you are a basketball first person.
Yeah, I am a basketball first person. You can quiz me about the 04, 05 teams. You can quiz me about that. But I do. Lions was great. I remember when we drafted like a bunch of wide receivers in a row, and everyone was like, "What are we doing?" And what was GM's name?
I know we had Bob Quinn, who was
before
there.
That guy.
Matt Millen.
Matt Millen. That was a swear word in our family's house. Oh my
goodness.
We were not allowed to say that word.
Yeah, it's not allowed in my home.
It's like Patricia. Like we don't talk about Patricia's time here. Matt Millen was.
Yeah, Matt's not allowed in my home either.
Yeah, no.
or anywhere within any of my thing. And I don't say that in a bad way, but it's like it wasn't the greatest of relationships. And
was he GM when you were there too?
He came in. He became GM during my time. Had a really good relationship with him in passing during the time when he was a commentator and an analyst, and then even supported when he came to garner support from players who were currently playing when he was looking to take over that position. And for some reason, it just deteriorated after that, and it became a very different relationship that it wasn't caused on my end. And as much as I just think that you find out a lot more about people when you look at them consistently over time.
Yeah, I know it was interesting. Well, I have to ask you this. I don't want to get into the sad side of the lines. I want to ask you this. Like, first of all, congratulations. Hall of Fame, college football, announced within the past couple weeks, right?
Yes.
Like very recent. Congratulations,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So when I think of legacy, right, there's so many people like, what does that mean, legacy? You've added this out of like a number of things. Just inducted the 2026 College Football Hall of Fame, 2-time All-American, consistent first time All-American 1990. You were 6th in Heisman voting, I believe. I wrote that down. And then next thing you know, you're 10th overall pick in the Lions. You set record after record after record for the Lions. You played with one of the best in Barry Sanders. And what people don't know about you is you didn't stop. And I think this is one thing I love about talking to athletes. You kept your legacy going in business. You've started business after business. You've gotten your fingers in so many different things. When I say, like, what is Herman Moore's legacy and what does he want that to be? What would you say?
It is exploring excellence at all endeavors in everything that you do. I think there's times in which we fear that you have to be smart in things that you do, the choices that you make, but you got to understand who you are, the person. You got to understand what your fabric is. And one thing I've learned is growing up from, I won't call it poverty because I had tremendous love. We just didn't have the financial things that a lot of people would consider, it's a tool, right? And we need that. I grew up in a housing project, single mother, my sister's younger sibling, but we struggled. And so I understand the bottom so I don't fear it. I understand how you elevate and how you continue to ascend. And in doing that, it has allowed me to take some risk and chances that others will fear and never embrace and never try because of the fear of failure. And I don't fear that component because I'm built for it. I've built tools along the way, whether it be in education, whether it be in being resilient, determined, never quitting. And you build all these things to your fabric that allow you to say, that's what my legacy is. So I want to explain that to my kids. They didn't take the path of football. They didn't take the path of sports. They tried it. They looked to do it. But ultimately, it was self-discovery. They figured out who they were. They wanted to be engineers. They wanted to be in the automotive, in the aerospace world. And in there, they took that full steam, and now they're excelling at that, as I did in sports. So the legacy continues in mindset, really. A lot of people think it's passing down some things. Well, what I pass down is something that doesn't expire.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the trust in yourself. That is the endurance. That is the determination and all these things that can go generation to generation to generation.
What lessons while playing football do you think you learned that helped you get this mindset?
Competing and understanding that in order to gain, you must be willing to sacrifice. And that sacrifice comes from doing things repeatedly at a high level, consistently, all the time. We all want a shortcut. I think we're all born with the ability to be great, to be outstanding. Yes, there are some challenges in different areas. There are some things that unfortunately, at birth, people are afflicted with. But it's all about how you handle it and where you become the best self. And if you find that self-discovery of being that best self, then ultimately what happens is if you're giving your best, you really never fail because you couldn't have done more.
Right.
And it's taken me a while. I didn't start out that way. I developed into that because people would go, you're not giving your best. You're cutting corners or you're not doing those things. And I'm blessed to be in sports because you now have accountability. And that's something that a lot of people forget about. You need accountability in pretty much everything that you do. You got to understand the consequences. You got to understand the responsibilities. You got to understand what is it that you are saying you're going to do that someone else can hold you accountable for and measure you against your word.
You mentioned your children and how they tried sports and then they decided to do other paths. And I never thought to ask this question, but I'm sitting in front of an athlete right now. Do you think athletes struggle with like the next generation of knowing how to parent their kid, like maybe wanting them to take up the mantle of sports and not wanting to put extra pressure on them to do so? And then what's it like for the kid? Does the kid deal with extra pressure to live up to dad's name or live up to mom's name? Like, how does that dynamic work within athletes, and especially very successful athletes and their kids?
That's a dynamic that is definitely at play in the sports world or from people who are highly competitive or aspiring to do great things. They see themselves, and then because that's their family, their kids, they see something in them that we always talk about. Can someone recognize something in us that we don't see in ourselves? And yet some will start them on a path that they want them to go on versus self-discovery. And that's the part where I go, we as athletes, even those that perform at the highest level or professionals or anyone who's had a high level of success or consistency of doing well, is how do you find your patience and what I like to say, packing your patience to let others find out, what their lane is while guiding. So there's a discipline that comes as a parent when it comes to bringing your kids along and understanding where the give and take occurs. And I had to learn that at the go. It's not like I got tons of kids. I got 2 boys, and they're only a little less than 18 months apart, and they're taking different paths. They have different skill sets. I knew what I knew, and I was still evolving. Think of it. I'm in my early 20s. I'm 23, 24 years old with my kids. And in that being said, I'm still trying to find out who I am.
And that's in the peak of your career.
Right. And I'm trying to find out who I am.
Right.
And so it's a balance, it's a delicate balance. And again, a lot of that starts also to what is your foundation of being able to be that delivery system for them as well.
That's a good answer, because I know there's like, you look at the NBA, we have like LeBron playing with Bronny, and I'm sure that like is a cool experience for LeBron, right? But I also think of like potentially a lot of unfair pressure that those athlete kids sometimes might have to go through to try to reach dad's name,
especially now.
Yeah,
given the
social
visibility.
media.
Yes,
right. And I was just curious on kind of how you approach that dynamic, and that was a great answer. That's perfect. Okay, I want to get back to football in a second, but I know every interview you do is like football. So I actually want to talk to you because you and I, we just talked for a couple hours just the other night. I don't think people understand that you're like a business mind. Like they don't understand that you're like, I'll use the word mogul, right? Like you're a business mogul. People think of Herman Moore, especially in the Detroit world. It's like legend wide receivers, best wide receiver we probably ever had with Calvin Johnson, right? Like stats. That's what they put that box in. But in this interview today, I kind of want to show people that you're like, holy crap, like you've done a ton since your football career. Because I think that's important for people to know. The first question that I want to ask before we get into your business mind, there's a lot of athletes that they leave, they make their money, and they go broke. There's other athletes that invest in business and they make empires and they grow in and whatever. And sometimes both happen, right? When did you first get interested in business? Like when in your career did you realize, you know what, I want to try to prepare myself for the future? Like when did that happen?
Wow. I would say that probably occurred probably midway through my career. Like the money wasn't what it is now. Like then you had to be ultra conservative. My first contract was a 3-year, $2.4 million, 10th pick overall. The only guaranteed money, I want to say it was either $400,000 or $800,000, right?
What would be the difference? Sorry, really, what's the difference between like a today's pick?
Today, your guy's going to probably get at least $15, $20 million guaranteed. The contract may be 30, 40 million or more.
And you were at 400,000 guaranteed.
Yeah, they're making more than their guaranteed money I would have made my entire career.
Wow.
And coming out before they play it down. But, you made an interesting point. You talked about the 3 pillars of that typically seem to be the bucket that the athletes fall in. I fall into the third one, where you manage, you do well, you have some success, you then go into a business world, you learn, you have a little success, you crash and you burn, you lose basically everything, and then you have to reestablish and establish and grow yourself. And a lot of people don't know that about my journey because I'm entrepreneurial. If you look at history, and I had to go back and just continue to reassure myself about this transition. And again, I keep learning as I go. I never stop learning. I grow every day. And in this, my journey in this has been by far the toughest thing I've ever done in my life.
Business journey, not the football journey.
Not the football journey. The easy button for me is to go motivationally speak, be a corporate ambassador, to go out and meet and greet, card signings, and go on the sports shows, and it's some good careers, great careers, but they're self-fulfillment that I need. And this is a life that I only get to do this time.
Yeah.
And if that comes at a cost, as long as it doesn't cost my family and it doesn't cost those that depend on me, then I want to explore it. And I don't, because again, as I told you before, because I don't fear the bottom and I don't fear what the public thinks about my rise or fall. I care more about my purpose and why am I here, and is it fulfilling for me? And in doing that, that's what has allowed me to kind of take this journey. But as I said, and as you know yourself as an entrepreneur, man, it is not for the faint of heart.
No.
and it comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of relationships that go great, some go bust, and everything in between. But the athletes, I think, sometimes will just impulsively jump into things. We're very impressionable and influenced by those that we perceive as leaders because we lack the education in some of these fields. So beforehand, we always had to have what they call the handlers and people that would do that. Well, I'm a free thinker, and, and I like to think for myself. And because of that, I can rub you the wrong way because I'm going to say, I have a question. Why do that when we could probably do this over here? And sometimes when you challenge tradition and convention, it's met with either it's received or it's repelled. And I found that to be a hit or miss with me.
Particularly true because the people you're talking to just like he's just an athlete.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. People can't see past that optic and that focal point to really challenge me when it comes to talking business. And my struggles are tenfold than the person who may have less acumen, but they're given everything, the support and everything else, because it's perceived that this is the only way that person is going to thrive versus saying, hey, this person is kind of ready-made.
Yeah.
And ready to go and hit certain levels because of the travel I've already had and the journey I've already had. So I've spent the last 2 decades literally trying to convince even the smartest business minds to look beyond that and to challenge me in that area. And it's been tough. I'm not gonna lie. So I've had to, you talk about a lot of things I've built and a lot of things I've done in business. It hasn't been because that's the journey I've wanted to take. I would have preferred more partnerships, more doing kind of a single focus, but I've had to continue to keep building piece by piece, brick by brick onto the vision because it won't sometimes be necessarily supported because people can't see past the athlete.
If you wouldn't mind, like as we kind of keep diving in this, like you can say no to get vulnerable, but I'm just curious. If you had to compare your lowest moment in football, what was that? And then what's been your lowest part in business? What's that? And what are some of the lessons you've learned from both?
Oh, that's a great question. My lowest point in football has been, believe it or not, how to handle when I had change of value within the organization. You're given the same effort, and yet your value changes based on someone else's opinion. And it was tough because you spend so much time understanding that if you do this one thing and you commit to it and you sacrifice for it, then it's reciprocated back with loyalty and all these things. It's not to talk about.
Very conditional.
It's very conditional, right? As long as you're here, we'll treat you here. But if there's a slip here, then it's baby and bathwater.
Was that because of like leadership changes or is that true of like every organization or is that just seemingly?
It's a consistency in our world of sports. I don't think you can find many athletes other than those that are coveted that would say otherwise. And even then it depends. And it's not to throw it, people have to understand the dynamics that play in an industry. There's MOs and players will bicker, players will complain, players will say I'm worth more than perhaps sometimes we are. And sometimes we create turmoil and trouble when the trouble isn't really there, right? But at the same time, there's also egos at play. There's also some other things that are at play with those that are in leadership that sometimes may not have the greatest leadership qualities. That, those things can be oil and water, right, and create issues. So that was my lowest point. Is probably when there was a couple changes from going from and to be very specific because I'm an authentic person. When we had a coach like Wayne Fonts, who was a player's coach, he was very hard on us. A lot harder than people perceive. He just didn't do it in the public space, but at practice, he would get on us and he would demand certain things. And the thing he pushed more than anything was accountability, right, and leadership. And then you had a guy like Coach Ross who came in who wanted more control over how you thought, you moved, you performed. He determined if you should do something good or bad, or how good or bad you could do. He really was. It was total. It was over everything that you did. But he still demanded excellence, right? Yeah. But in a different way. So you're 20-some years old and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this rupture all of a sudden, this change. And so that was a low point, and I struggled with it because the communication. Well, I'm a communicator.
Yeah.
And when a person doesn't want to communicate with you, and it's just because I said so, man, that was a tough world. But what I did learn out of that is I always have choices. So that was the learning of what I got out of that low point. You know what? There will come a sacrifice to that. I could say, I don't want to do this anymore, and I can leave. Or I can say, you know what? I'm going to toe the line and do exactly what is asked of me, even if it means that it does not give my best, but I got to be okay with not giving my best. And then fast forward, if I look at it in business, it has been the lowest point there would have been just trusting that if I put my resources and all this stability that I had into something that I was passionate about, the people will come. And the mentality there was they still have to have a reason to follow. I also had to learn that business isn't fair. It's just like sports. The best don't always win. The brightest aren't always given the opportunity. The most prepared can lose out to those who have a relationship who the other person who is wanting to give you that opportunity is more comfortable with. And so therefore, there are no rules really at play. The rules are what you establish and say, this is going to be my standard operating procedures. This is going to be my brand guideline. This is going to be my business modality. And it took me failure after failure, belief after belief that would crater to actually learn it, because I was just not a believer that there's got to be someone that's not going to do this. And it's not a sad story for me, but what it showed me is that if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And so when I got into that mentality, the lesson was I always have a choice, and I always have a decision that I can make and be accountable for. And either path
regardless of environment.
Regardless.
Right.
And any path that I take is actually not a bad path. It just means there's a rule, there's a responsibility and accountability that comes with it, and an expectation. Which one can I live with? So I've picked the harder one, but it's given me the most flexibility and authenticity to stay who I am, even if it means I crash and burn and fail.
Right.
I'll go that route.
What do you love about business?
The people, the challenges. Like, I love problems that need fixing. I love disruption. I love challenging tradition. Some people may say, you sound like trouble. No, I'm not trouble. But what I am is someone who doesn't rest on today is good enough. And I don't say all these things to you. I mean, what I'm telling you, and I can say it to you so fluidly, is this is how I live my life. Right. But what I discovered is this is not how the world really works with most. Most are wanting to go A, B, C, D. And sometimes while that sounds great, and we are taught that, sometimes you may already be past D, and you're looking for the next piece. And then we slow down because we need to accommodate the people who are at A. That means I'm in the wrong space. I need to go with the people who have already gotten over the D stage, right? And I don't know, man. It's been fun. It's been challenging. I wish I hadn't made certain decisions and choices, but that's water under the bridge.
And that's how you have to learn.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
So I want to flip the question now. So we learned like the low end. Mount Rushmore for you moment in your career in football. What was that?
Oh my goodness.
Because there's so many. Like, it was either
personally or team. Because that's the other thing that people have to know about me. Like, there's the individual accolades and individual high points and low points, and then there's the team.
I would say let's go individual first. What was the moment that when you look back, you're like, dude, that was the peak? Like, that moment. It could be a game. It could be a stat. It could be a accomplishment. What was that like? This was it.
I'm gonna go a 1A and 1B.
Okay,
if that's okay.
You got to. There's so many to choose from. I mean,
so the first one would be going from a player that got booed in his first preseason game that looked like he was going to be a bust in the NFL. I'd started playing football when I was 6 years old, and it culminated becoming a professional football player. I got to the summit. And yet on that stage, we've heard people say I didn't come this far to come this far. The first time since I only had quit one time in football in my life, and my mother brought me back and said, "You're never allowed to quit." And I promised I would never do it. I came that close after my rookie season of quitting and saying, "I'm gonna go do something else," because of the weight. I'm a young kid. I'm here by myself. But then having the opportunity, Robert Clark goes down and gets injured. I become a starter for the Lions in the playoff game, biggest game that this organization has had in a while. And I scored my first touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys. And my teammates come out to celebrate with me, and the adulation, and the fans are going crazy because it's a touchdown, but my team's coming along for me and going, "I knew you had it in you all along." Even in just high five. High fives were nonverbal communication. They were just a sense of you've arrived.
You got this.
And then from there, I started the next 7 years and went on a stretch to become one of the greatest stretches ever, not only just during that decade, which is great, but in history. And along the way, setting NFL records, going to Pro Bowls, becoming an All-Pro, being a conversation of Offensive Player of the Year with Jim Harbaugh and Bryce Popp and Brett Favre as the 4 finalists. And becoming an offensive on the same team as a Barry Sanders, but being the offensive MVP for the Detroit Lions in '95. It was a summit. It was like, wow, this is great from the individual standpoint.
Yeah. What about business?
Business, I would say it was. I'm gonna give you a 1A, 1B on that one. If it's okay.
Consistency.
Because the 1A on the first one on the sports, just to clarify, was the catching of the touchdown, my teammates coming in, and the rest. The second part was being able to see something through to a final place.
And to a level that's just...
Yeah, individual. The only thing that was left was like league MVP, right? And now the last one is the NFL, Pro Football Hall of Fame. In business, it was going out, transitioning from football without anger, without attitude, without regret, and then becoming a franchisee and trying the franchise world. And in a
that was with Cinnabon, right?
Cinnabon. And then in a short period of time, completely owning the entire market of Michigan.
Yep.
And all the units, and for development.
You're undercutting yourself. 17 locations. I just want to make sure you're undercutting yourself a little bit.
Just a little
17 locations in Michigan and Florida, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I took some notes, so I don't want to, and then, that's huge.
Yeah, and we grew probably 3 or 4 more units. And then from there, taking over the entire 2 years, a year and a half later, acquiring the entire Florida market and growing that one as well. And then becoming one of the largest franchise partners in a publicly traded company system. In a matter of a few years of leaving the professional sports, right? And along that way, all the things I did in discovering, all the highs and the lows and everything in between, it grew me as a person to show me that I was adaptable and that I could go into different places as long as I carried that mantra I keep talking about, that if I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna give my best. And that was probably one of my biggest highlights in business. But then fast forward, it was saying, okay, now I'm understanding not just purchasing someone else's system. How do I build my own systems? How do I uncover the anatomy of business? Because business, no matter what business you do, there's a core principles that are in there. There are core components, probably a good 4 or 5 things that you must do in there to be successful and be really on top of. And what I did is I started to develop those, and then eventually, because of the no's and people telling me, no, we don't think you can do this. No, we're not going to give you the opportunity. I started to acquire those pieces with with financial institutions saying no, to where I have to take a risk on myself. And so I have the highest risk in me. And
as an athlete, that's kind of how you play. That's how you want.
Yes.
It's like, again, basketball. I'm a basketball guy. Like, as a shooter, I wanted to be at the free throw line. Right. Like, I want that risk on me. And I think that's probably why you were more comfortable than most doing that, is probably because you did that your whole career and you wanted that moment. And that's, again, I think a correlation between sports and business is it teaches you so many lessons about betting on yourself. It is a team game, but you still got to show up and perform.
Correct. And the team aspect of it is what I got out of it has been, as I look back over my life, no journey that is great is traveled alone. And all the people that have sown into me, from my younger, my adolescent years to my young adult years to some of the toughest challenges and trials and tribulations in my life, and the mentorship and just coming from, and everyone thinks that's these gurus, and these sometimes it's just the regular people to say sometimes stop, or sometimes people say go, and the others that say turn right, turn left, or those that just sit there and say, let me hear what you got to say, and I'll give you my opinion. And what I've learned is to listen. And even as you and I, we've gotten to know each other, there's things that you will say to me. You're younger. You're 31 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm a baby.
Right? You're a baby. I have a son who's 32 and another who's 33. And it's no different. They give me advice. And there's some things that they know in this world that I may not be as astute to. And I listen to you and those things. And every time I come away, I walk away with something. I do. It's not passive. It's a very active listening and conversation that I have with people. And I've learned to do that. And if out of my journey, anything that has happened has been exceptional, is to learn something from every area, even in the downturns and the upturns. They're equal to me.
Yeah. The upturns are more fun.
Yeah,
But
the upturns are fun, but the biggest growth happens is in the fall.
yeah.
It really, really
But I
does.
think that growth has to be intentional, because I think the fall can crush some people. But if you, again, go back to sports, like when you're used to sacrificing for something and you're used to failing, you're used to dropping a pass, like your story, you dropped 3, you had people booing, and that could have crushed someone. That could have given someone else the yips to where, but learning to push through that regardless. I mean, that's just, I think it's a testament of the lessons you've learned in football. I can personally see a direct correlation to the ups and downs of business and how the molded you to be able to take those hits. Right. Because I think, we talked on the call the other day, and I asked you about a couple of businesses, and, they went well and you learned. And like for me too, like we tried to start a video editing company. We learned a ton. And now I know the international editing space. Right. Now I just sold equity in that company, right? It's awesome. We exited, but great relationship. Did it exceed and do $20 million? No. Did I learn a ton throughout that journey? And am I grateful for that year and a half that I co-founded and started that company? Yes. Was the end result a Super Bowl? No. But the lessons I learned from that allow me to build what I'm building now. And I wouldn't have had it. And I actually told that to the guy I sold the equity back to. I was like, listen, I know this didn't work out the way we all wanted, but without this opportunity, I would have never started 313 Media Company. I would have always just thought I had to sell insurance for the rest of my life. You gave me the hope that I could do something else with my life. Even though it didn't really turn out the way we really wanted it to, I still won. Right. And, that's, I think, the lesson entrepreneurs have to have.
What are your fears? What are your
fears? Wait, who's the host of this show?
I'm just curious because I'm curious. You've asked me a couple questions. I don't want to take away from your show, but I'm always interested. I'm always interested in learning too. Like,
this is our show, by the way.
So you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And as you look at some of the challenges that you've had and some of those things, are there any fears, or how do you feel that you are prepared for this next iteration of your business? And if so, like why? Like I'm sure you talk about the things that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
We bring those things forward. We learn, we adjust, we become, whatever. I mean, are there any fears? Are there any concerns? Or there's some things that you're saying, hey, I got to make sure I look out for this?
Yeah. I just want to provide for my family. I think that's it. And the fear is that, well, cash flow's there, we're growing a company, but my family is in the same position it's been for 5 years, and we're not seeing any of that cash flow drip. Like, I want to be able to take a great vacation and get my kids memories. I want to be able to get a car that's not a 2010 CRV that burns oil that we are replacing and I want to be able to give my wife a safer car. My fear, if we're going to be real and authentic, is that I build a great cash flow company that I pay a bunch of other people that are making great money that I never see. That's the fear. That's what's happened. And pretty much like in insurance, made 6 digits every single year since I started, every year. We didn't see 6 digits, right? We invested in people that you met. We invested in spaces and agents and giving away opportunities for them to make their careers. And then most years, my team always made more money than I did, right? That's just the life of an entrepreneur.
Correct. And
so I think just the fear of knowing the investment that this company is taking and will take is like, I really hope this is the one that pays off because I just want to provide. You know, I want to be the provider. I want to like, you know, show my wife like it's worth the sacrifice that we've made to get to this point. And the fear is like, if it doesn't happen, like,
Right.
what is that? So yeah, I think that's it. The good news is we went through COVID as a B2B insurance agency when Michigan shut down. We survived. We learned how to live unbelievably lean. You know, no car payments, like slash everything. Live on $30K a year as a business owner. We learned how to do this, so we're ready. Like we like, you know, if I took home 80 grand a year, dude, it'd be like, are you kidding me, right? And people watching this would be like, are you serious? I'm like, well, that's just the life of the business it's been. And we've made the investments. And like, for me, like the failure was insurance. Like we service a bunch of companies. We do a lot of premium, but the trickle down hasn't been great to us. But I've changed other people's lives like him. Like Tom is killing it. And that makes me fulfilled. And I actually have a problem where I love giving money away. I love like watching other people's like, and so my wife's like, could we just like be a little selfish?
Keep a little bit.
Just a little, just, you know, tighten that up. So that's probably it.
A lot of parallels. Like
Yeah.
like that's, and I asked that, just specifically asked that question because to reassure you and also to let you know that it's a I won't say it should be a normal path, but when you sit at the head and you are the person who's sitting at the top and you're accountable, you're typically the last to eat for the most part, unless you don't care about your people. If you care about your people, you will sacrifice and maybe sometimes over-sacrifice. And finding that balance means you have to understand some of those things that you've gone through. And because you just mentioned everything that I talk about, that even now as I build and develop new businesses, I have to understand how to turn lean, how to divest or to get out of other situations that weren't as profitable or that didn't go as well, but also keep your character about not leaving people hanging. And sometimes this is unavoidable. Because that's part of everybody who's in business. It's part of the game. It's part of the deal. But I'll say this, man. It's like in doing that, you understand the levels. And I always tell people, if you understand what is expected at each level, no matter if it's the bottom, which is bad, to next to not being so bad, to average, you understand the rules of all those things and how to manage those. You grow.
Yeah.
And so
And you have to.
And that's why I ask you what you fear, because once you overcome those fear, they no longer become fear.
Yeah.
They become guardrails.
Yeah.
They become guideposts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what has happened with me. I know I can sense where I'm going before I get there. And I make a decision consciously to go, if I hit that part, which is kind of close to the bottom, can I recover? And can I make sure I don't leave a lot of bad things in my wake?
Yeah.
But I understand what it's going to take to get back.
Well, I think that's the key. You know what it's going to take. And that's why I get excited about this is like, you know, and you know, we opened up this company in October 1st and we're already doing more cash flow than I've ever made in insurance in 3 months. And I was like, oh,
That's awesome.
like we're on track to do $1 million. And I'm like, oh, and it's something that I love. And that's the thing. Like, I don't feel like I ever work. Like, I love this.
Driven and passionate.
Like, I love this. Like, the insurance was driven out of a need to provide. Like, I'm a naturally outgoing person. I enjoy meeting people. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I like the product that we sold. It was, you know, 2 companies. I didn't have to knock people's homes. It was like door to door for businesses and employee benefits. It was like things that are needed, right? It was cheap for the business owner. They didn't have to pay for it. Like, it could be employee funded. It was fine, right? But I didn't love it. And this is like, I'm like, this is awesome, you know? And you're telling me that I get to help a company. Like, in 5 years, every company that doesn't have a podcast is going to be like, they don't have a website. Like, it needs to happen. It's something they need content. And I've made the mistakes. I barely got out 12 episodes my first year of podcasting that I edited myself. Again, I sucked, right? And I learned what it took. And now I get to have the opportunity to get paid to help people do that. I'm like, what better opportunity is there? And considering the market opportunity, like what 1% of businesses have podcasts right now?
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm in. You know, like this is, and so it's fun. And then I get to provide, like, Cannon is my integrator in Texas, and he's getting paid, and I get to change his financial situations. That's felt great, and we just hired Christina. And so yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's just
you're finding those niche areas and you're filling a spot and a need. And that's another thing in business. It took me a while to learn. And you can either take market share or you can uncover and provide that release and that relief that other people are looking for by giving them something that the market is missing.
Yeah.
And so again, that constant growth and learning, which is what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
And business is dynamic.
It's what gives you hope.
It is.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, enough about me. This is boring. All right. That was your fault.
No, I enjoyed it. No, I enjoyed
Okay.
it. This is your world.
Yeah.
This is your podcast. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there's a lot of mutual respect.
Appreciate that.
So that.
Same, man. I will say, like, when I told my dad, so my dad, massive Lions fan, right? So we grew up in Ohio. So my dad grew up in Royal Oak. I grew up in Ohio. I was born in Newark, Ohio. I was actually adopted. So, I got adopted. My parents adopted me, whatever. Which, great. That's a whole nother story. And group Lions fan, my dad, like, and when I said, hey, by the way, you know who Herman Moore is? I was like, Dylan. Like, Herman Moore was Calvin before Calvin. Like, what are we doing with this? And so I said, well, hey, like, I met him. And he was like, you met Herman Moore? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, that's awesome. And I was like, well, I actually, like, figure out some sort of deal or whatever. He's like his world was, like, blown because, like, he watches you every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And arguably, you and Calvin's career are very similar. I mean, very similar. I wanted to ask you this. Go back to football. So I had a question for you. I don't know how to. You're the only person that I think you're the most qualified athlete that I can ask this question to, and I wanted to know your version of this. So in basketball, you would have because I love basketball, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. Miami Heat, when LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, you had the three stars kind of coexisting at the same time. In football, that does happen sometimes too. Very rarely, though, on offense do you have two elite players in different positions, like when you had Barry and you had you, mm-hmm. right? What is it like sharing legacy with Barry, knowing that if you were on any other team in that time, Herman would be a bigger household name than it is now,
right?
Because, and that's a fact. I think that's just
right.
Because of Barry. Mm-hmm. However, being on the same team as Barry was probably also a blessing, an unbelievable experience as well. So, like, what's that dichotomy like? And do you think through that sometimes?
I'm asked that question often as of late, especially given the conversation and chat around. I'm really vocal about enshrinement and my opportunity to get a gold jacket. You're always blessed to be around talent. Arguably, there is no debate, there is no question about the legacy of Barry Sanders and what he's meant to this franchise, to the league itself, to the position and reinventing it. And other teams, if you go to other places, the irony is you'll find others who will say their running back was better, right? And all you have to do is just go just a little bit towards the west, a little bit south, and you go to Dallas, and a lot of people will talk about Emmett, or they'll talk about other players who came before, depending on running style. So it comes down to the stylistic piece. But with Barry, I think it's his character. It is the way in which he carried himself. But I also think it's the marketing power that's also behind making sure that legacy lives and it breathes. And with that, you can get lost. If you're not matching that, then it becomes almost like a one-person show.
Yeah.
And that's not a Barry Sanders problem. Barry's just great. Barry's who he is. He's Heisman Trophy. He's best running back in arguably in the history of the game, right? And he's an icon. But we all know, and I said this before, that even if you talk about how great I am, I would challenge and say Brett Perriman and Johnny Morton and my quarterback were the greater influences to how I performed and how my career turned out, because I needed them in the secondary. I needed the quarterback to make the right read. Yes, I needed Barry Sanders to make the defense respect him, but they knew we had receivers. It's not like they said, hey, let the receiver out there go unchecked. Let that receiver go unchecked.
That's a two-way route, because arguably you could say because of Herman Moore, Barry had more space.
Correct.
I mean, it's a two-way.
Well, it does, and that's my point. It is all about the narrative.
Yeah.
And the narrative that gets told is that there's always only been just one player with no support. Well, I can argue you got 3-time Pro Bowler in Kevin Glover, who was a center, a 7-time Pro Bowler in Lomas Brown, a 4-time Pro Bowler that was with me, that are taking up more than 50% of his career that he played with. And then that's on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And that's before you get to the defensive side. So, again, this is not a Barry piece. The reason everyone falls behind and becomes more individualized is because of the marketing that goes behind it. This is a team sport. And the last time I checked, we all have the same amount of Super Bowls and playoff wins and losses on our resume during any individual's tenure. But I appreciate it because I think because of him, it brought light to Detroit.
Yeah.
It brought light to the team. It also allows myself and others to continue to at least be a part of a conversation, even if it's not at the depth that we may want, because of his greatness.
Yeah.
And so in that, I say I would never trade him for any teammate or any other running back. He is the greatest in my mind. And became friends with him. He has remained consistently the same person over time. It's not great, widely outspoken. It's great to see him speaking out a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's a tug and pull because I want my legacy to be its legacy and stand on its own because it can from the individual component. And then when it comes to what was my contribution to my team and my teammates, it also will stand and show that I not only supported, but I was widely supported.
Yeah.
And so I want to bring favor to all of them as well, and the coaches and those that sold into that. And definitely Chicago, Minnesota, and Green Bay for giving me all those touchdowns. So, I got to throw that. You can't be that without those guys. So I got to throw that in there.
Thank you for your service.
So thank you for that. So, but no, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is a tough one because no one wants their legacy to be buried and placed underneath something. And then you don't want to be called out as a person who has ill feelings or sour because you want to say, hey, not so fast. What about this?
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
who do you think spins the narratives?
The team is the biggest responsible party for spinning
Like the actual,
narrative.
not the media, the organization.
The organization. 100%.
I think that's some people don't really
people don't realize that. Like
No.
the media,
They think it's like ESPN or whatever. It's not.
exactly.
Yeah.
So think of it like this: when you hear about most things coming out of a market, it's typically pushed by the narrative of the team. It's by the coaching staff. It's about the organization. It's by their media team because they are in the business of marketing that all the time. So they're going to be the ones who are going to spend the most media about its organization, the people who have come through there, the good, the bad, the everything. So if the team doesn't do it, then you're already going to be ice skating uphill. It does not matter. And I think they understand the power of what they have. So therefore, if I ever look at it and go, and it is what it is. If I were to ever say, why aren't you in this light? I'm only going to point to a single source because it's definitely not because I'm not out doing my thing and traveling and trying to make my way and be a good guy and do all these things. But you need those people that you laid it out for to lay it out for you to make sure it doesn't die.
How much pull do former players have on this kind of thing with their organization?
Not much.
Is that organization like specific? Like it depends on the organization?
Depends on the organization. I think there's organizations who understand the power of making sure that the legacy of their players are always placed out front, and because that's what the fans come for, right? They come to support the organization. It's not always quid pro quo and transactional to where I want to give you this, I want to see a good game, I want to have just great entertainment. No, I also want to have a team that I can be proud of and talk about its history and its legacy, and I want to revere its players, and I also want to be supportive of all of their initiatives and all the things. So when I go somewhere and they talk about, you go to a team that's won the Super Bowls and won all those things, the only thing right now, because we don't have Super Bowls we can lean on, is excellence of our players and the legacies that they've done.
The Lions almost feel afraid to do that.
I don't know if it's afraid, and I can't speak for them.
I'm not going to ask you to get in trouble.
No, it's okay because they understand. Like our relationship is a operational relationship. We get along well enough. Could it be better? Absolutely. But at the same time, there's nothing I want more than wanting what it's deserved and what the players, not just me, deserve. And that is just recognition, appreciation, and all those things. And again, I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth on what the Lions are doing or not doing, as much as saying I would hope we all feel we can always do better. Like I always look for ways like, how can I embrace the organization? How can I do more with the organization? How can I take them everywhere I go? How can I be a great ambassador, even if it's unofficial at this stage? When I'm serving someone, they go, Herman Moore, Detroit Lion. So I naturally will take their brand with me. So I'm very protective of their intellectual property and their brand, just as I would be of myself. And therefore, when I wear it and I wear it proudly and I speak on it like that, I try and do it that way. And you just want that reciprocated.
Does the whole like brand new Lions thing rub you the wrong way a little bit?
Not really, but I know a lot of it has been, the irony has been this, all right? Call it what it is we don't want to keep talking about same old Lions. We want to talk about the Lions from the past. We want to talk about these guys, but then you look at the guys they bring in to really market it.
It's the same old guys.
Right? It's like okay, you're bringing the people you're saying you want to forget about into the fold.
That's funny.
And so
I've never thought, but that's funny.
So it becomes one of those things where it's not you're not throwing right here. I'm not throwing jabs and please by no means. I don't want anyone to think that because I love the people over there. I work with some fantastic folks. But it's a mixed message in the public and the private space. And then it is a piece where I think we can just do better. I know I want to do better. I want to try and do better. But it takes two people. It takes two parties. And I listen to the alums. I'm around them. I know they're trying to do a lot there to make sure they bring the guys back. But it's more than just saying come to a game. A lot of it is the storytelling. A lot of it is not the where are they now, but here's the appreciation we have for what they did and what they sacrificed.
Yeah.
The marketing pieces of it, okay, you got that down to a T, but it has to extend beyond that. Otherwise, it does like anything else that we do. You put it in a shelf, you can put it in bright lights for that day or that moment, and then it gets dusty and then it disappears.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even becomes a faded memory when that is brand equity. That is social equity. That is commitment to your fan base.
It's worth a lot.
That is commitment to your brand power.
Because I think people forget, I think organizations forget, and this is coming from a guy that, just fan, right? Like, my dad resonates more with Barry and Herman than he does with Amon-Ra and Gibbs. Because that was when his formative years was watching you and Barry. And so when you try to move on from the past, you actually, whether intentional or not, and you kind of force only the current players on people, you actually kind of alienate the people that don't feel as connection with them as they did when they were a child or they were a teen. And so I think that it is unbelievably important to keep the generations of greats active because there is a fan out there that's their guy and that's their person.
I'll tell you something that's interesting about that, not to belabor it. Because I love marketing and branding.
And you can disagree with me. I don't know if you
agree.
No.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm going to give you a little bit more. And again, this is the insight that allows it to come full circle, but it has to start with dialogue and conversation, not exclusion.
Yep.
So the number one thing I hear from fans is after they get, they'll talk about, I love watching you, love watching Barry, you guys were this, you were Calvin before Calvin, you do all this other stuff, cool. They go, the fact that you guys are approachable and that you guys are accessible and versus it started a while ago as the salaries start to go, they became inaccessible. They became more of a commodity that you had to pay extra dollars for just to have access to. So they look at guys like myself and Lomas and, some of the guys that have been in the market.
I've heard Lomas is a great dude.
And because we're approachable, that brand equity and that social equity, which is going to spend a lot more than your dollars. Like, you got to spend for that, whereas we naturally are getting it because of our personality. They say that players have lost that, and they don't have it because you can't go up to them and you can't take but so much of their time. They're super busy.
Without transaction.
And it's got to be, we got to make it so that they are, and it's sometimes I think it's done on purpose because it drives demand.
Yep.
But at the same time, you don't realize you're hurting the brand and the extended value of that player post-career.
Right.
Because people are going to remember. And the first thing they tell me all the time, even if I have highs and lows, they go, I like you as a person. Football, all that's great.
Yeah.
They say, but you know what I love about you? I love who you are as a person and that you're approachable.
That's got to be the best compliment.
It is the greatest thing.
Yeah.
When my mom sees that and she hears that, they can say, I remember your Green Bay game, man, 3 touchdowns in the first half, and you guys, you were killing them. And she's like, okay, that's great. And they go, but you know what? You were raised right. You're approachable. You're the nicest person. And
Your
you know
mama
what?
knew what she was doing.
You can take all that other stuff, put it in a box, and let that get dust.
Yeah.
And that's why this part of it is the part that gets missed. And it's important for us to have that connection with those guys, not just your superstars, and not just the superstars, but having access to those who are in the marketplace, actually having real-time touch points with the fan base, the community, philanthropy, business owners, that we can share that knowledge back. So it's and somewhere in there, it seems threatening. Like I cannot figure it out, and I don't understand it. Maybe it's
to
the
the
delivery
organization.
system. Yeah, maybe it's the delivery system. Maybe it's the fear of something else.
There could be some insecurities.
Or the
there
control or something like that. But I go, there's nothing that you want from those people other than the past knowledge.
Right.
And nothing that you want as a player. I can't speak for every player, but for me, more so than from the organization, is to say we are synonymous, and I have a value to you. You have a value to me. Why do we have to be oil and water?
Yeah.
And why do we have to be at odds?
Yeah. I think we won't get into it today due to time, but next time you come on the show, because we'll make a two-peat for sure later. Like that's why getting more insight on the Calvin thing, like what did happen, like why, like that should have been the best. Barry took a long time to warm up to. There's a lot more we can get into.
There's some repeated history that has happened and occurred, and like I said, the stories they aren't siloed. They aren't just individuals. I think it's not just I think it's in the sport itself. Most organizations have battled this exact same thing, and they haven't figured out how to do it. And I don't know if it's personnel or what it may be, but the players are talking. The players are saying this is a problem, and these are consistent things that happen. Why they can't be addressed? You can fix a problem in the stadium for $55 million, but you can't fix relationships with players, and that's what we'll find with these teams. Like you can put millions and millions of dollars into fixing these other problems that tend to be transactional and lead to profitability, but there is profit in making sure that your brand carries over with the people that come in and lay it out on the field.
Of course, yeah, because then the stronger the connection with the fan base, the more profitable the organization. Yeah. Like you'd think it'd be that simple, but
and to their credit though, not all players are the same either. Some players bring baggage, some players bring things that you also need them to also come with accountability. But hopefully, I'm not considered to be one of those players, But I am very vocal, as you could probably tell, in terms of just being truthful. Yeah, and sometimes the truth is the hardest thing to share with people and have a
but the truth is how you have to start conversations.
I can't have it any other way.
Yep. Okay. So we're out of time, but I did have a couple questions for you real quick that I thought were more fun.
Fire shoot.
Okay. So never done this segment on the show before. I've been wanting to do it.
Someone first?
You're first.
All right. Let's do it.
And I thought it'd be fun to ask you a couple would you rather questions. I thought a lot about it. I have two would you rather questions. Just simple. But, I just wanted to hear your thought. So obviously we know Lions have never won a Super Bowl, right? My first would you rather question for you would be, would you have rather won a Super Bowl during your career, at the peak of your career, whenever that was, mid like 5 years in, 4 years, whenever that season was, win the Super Bowl, but tear your ACL in the game and your career would have ended with that win, or not win a Super Bowl and then be able to play a whole career?
We won the Super Bowl?
You won the Super Bowl.
I'll take the Super Bowl.
But see, I'm a smart
ACL. But I'm a smart guy because I would have had an insurance contract to pay me out the rest of the contract. So either way,
you're good.
I would have missed out on the accolades individually, but I had my Super Bowl ring and I would still have my contract.
Yeah, and you could walk. So
I think on my feet.
Okay, there you go. Okay, did you play during Ray Lewis's time at all?
Yeah, early in his career, I was there. He was in Baltimore.
So, would you have rather? Which is a harder accomplishment? Like that's this. 2, tackle Barry Sanders in the open field, or hold on to a catch where Scott Mitchell throws it over the middle where Ray Lewis is waiting.
I'll take the hit by Ray Lewis all day than trying to tackle Barry.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. I mean, I first of all, I've already been on his highlights where myself and others missed. The defensive players missed. I missed. Everybody missed. So I already know that is an impossible
And
feet for me.
You could snag the ball.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that. That's over the middle. I don't fear that. You can't play the position and do it at the level I did it because that was a no man's land.
Yeah.
I've gone with the safeties that are willing to knock themselves out.
So those are the two would rather. But I had another question. It's not would rather, but what's the hardest hit you took?
True story. San Francisco, Bill Romanowski caught a hitch route. Didn't see him coming. He did it like a Tampa 2 rollback or whatever, and he hit me so hard. I said I didn't think about quitting. That was probably the other time I said, I don't know if this sport is really what I really want to do. Ended up catching a touchdown later that game, but he hit me so hard, I think he knocked me under the San Francisco bench on a wet, rainy day, and I came back to their huddle, and they pushed me out of their huddle, and then Scott Mitchell called a timeout.
Because you were just
I know we were in a quick. Yeah, it was a no huddle, and it was a 2-minute thing.
Like, what are we doing, guys?
Somehow, and all of a sudden I'm walking over to the defensive huddle, and they pushed me out of there, and I'm thinking I'm in my huddle, and Scott asked me if I'm okay, and he calls a timeout. And then he's like, dude, somebody needs to come get him and get him out of the game.
This was before, like, a lot of the CTE.
Yeah.
They put you right back in.
They look at you and they
Smelling
go,
salts.
it's all this, fall on my hands. Or, do you see
Your
me?
eyes
Are
are
you
just
okay?
doing this.
Yeah. And then, he's good. He's good. Oh, he's good to go. Go back in.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. When did the whole head thing start being in the discussion? Speaking of concussions.
I have no idea, but I got my bell rang quite a few times. I think I had 7 concussions.
Dang.
Documented.
Dang. Do you have any do you ever have headaches or stuff like that now? Like, do you ever feel?
I don't have headaches, but I definitely have memory loss. Like my cognitive skills, I have to admit, I mean they're suspect.
Is that why you ask me my name every time we meet?
Every time.
Dallas,
Denver,
Daryl.
Daryl. Damn it, Dimitri.
Yeah, I met. Speaking of concussions, I met Antonio Brown once. That Vontaze perfect hit, dude.
Yeah, I met him out. Yeah, I met him out in Pittsburgh a couple times. Yeah.
Like, when you watch that happen as a wide receiver, I remember that hit.
Yeah, that was wild.
Like, did you just know immediately, like, that it was just gonna dramatically just change who he was after that hit? Like, because I mean, you play because that hit kind of derailed his career in a lot of ways after that hit. I love it. Like, we had a great conversation. I met him. Like, he was really nice guy to me. So I appreciate that. But, like, obviously that hit, like, marks kind of the change in Antonio Brown's path. Do you ever think through any hits that you're like, dang, like, if they would have connected a little more, or, like, because that's got to, as a wide receiver, that has to be terrifying going across the middle of the field knowing you just never know when that last dive for the ball could be.
Right.
In
any position, really, because there's bodies flying everywhere and guys are all over the place. But, that hit during that game with Cincinnati, it was, I think you can look back at it and say there were some things that definitely changed. But, I didn't know he would have that type of an issue if that, in fact, is what's led to just, some of the things that we've seen. But for the most part, man, it is a challenging sport.
I know.
And it's one that I think people underappreciated the rules before they changed. And then that's why we get into it. And there's a whole nother show. We start talking about the different eras of playing. You can't keep trying to compare.
No, you can't.
It is impossible. This is an entertainment era. And no offense. And yes, it's still a physical game, but it's truly totally different than what it's been.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
past
same
years.
thing with basketball, with the Detroit Bad Boys elbowing Michael Jordan in the face. As
is there traveling actually still in basketball?
No,
I know you get at least 12 steps.
You don't even have to dribble anymore.
Right. I saw one highlight, and we won't say which GOAT it was, but, man, he literally went from half court almost past the free throw line before he took a dribble, and they got a foul. He got a foul called at the end, and he didn't even get touched.
Yeah. Oh, don't get.
We won't get started.
You won't get me started.
I won't get started.
If you get me started on reffing in the NBA, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I don't know what's going on there.
Because here's the thing: you don't know if it's a foul in the NBA. It's when it's a clean block, and you can be guaranteed they're not gonna call a foul when it's the most blatant foul in history.
They still play defense.
So that's surprisingly, I'm gonna get you this one.
Okay.
I mean, the Pistons right now play the best defense in the NBA.
Absolutely. And that's why they're on top.
Yes, they are slowly allowing more contact on the drive, slowly. But what I hate. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they arguably the best player in the league for OKC. Literally, his MO is throw his body into a defender and hope he gets free throws. He scores 30 points a game.
Yeah.
If you take the refs out of the game, Shai is not a top 20 player because he has to have the whistle. And now again, you could argue that he would have then adapted his playing style. Sure, maybe. But it drives me.
Is it that, or is he exploiting the rules?
But
And he's exploiting.
But if he doesn't have them, I'm like, is he as dynamic if he doesn't get 20 free throws a game? That's all I'm saying. Cade, what I love about Cade, he's an ethical hooper.
Right.
He finishes.
Strong player too, man.
He finishes. Player. He gets more and ones. Like, he doesn't flop like Brunson did in the playoffs. He doesn't flop, and I appreciate that a lot about Cade. He's just an ethical hooper, man. Mid-range. Like, everyone says the mid-range is dead, and then Cade comes, he's like, I'm gonna bring it back. And so, I don't know, but the product, they're very similar in where they've gone. The NBA was like, we need higher scoring games. And it's like, no, we don't. The fans love defense. You want to know why the 04-05 Pistons were so popular? It wasn't their offense. It was Ben Wallace. It was defense. That's what made them so fun to watch.
Same in the bad boy era.
Right? Yeah. Like, and you had Tayshaun Prince, who's a freaking alien with like his fingertips would touch the ground when he ran. His arms were so long, but he would lock anybody up. And like, that's what I think the NBA is missing. Is there's so much in sports? It's so much about entertainment. You're gonna get on my sports side.
Well, no, it's the same. We having the same debate.
But it's so much about entertainment that you're missing what fans actually want. Like in basketball, fans like seeing steals, blocks, fast breaks, lockdowns, shot clock violations,
dances in the NFL, and what's the next skit? And all that stuff.
Yeah, people like seeing concussions.
No, it used to be the kickoff and watching hits and all that. It was really entertainment. It was a tough sport. Football was football, but now it's. I'm telling you, it's a different. Like, it's just different. I mean, it's not a knock on the players, but it's just different.
Is the Devin Hesters of the world wouldn't be stars in today's NFL?
Right.
So like, you used to have players that would make their career on kickoff returns and punt returns.
Right.
Well, kickoff, like, you don't. It doesn't matter. You just have to have someone in the end zone that can catch a ball.
I think I was looking at like fullbacks that were going and getting 3 and 4 times, going straight to the Pro Bowl with like 200 yards. Like it's a different
league.
So I get it, and everything evolves.
Yeah. Not always for good.
Not always for good.
Yeah. And I'm a young buck, and I say NBA. We'll talk about it. I'm gonna get you to be a massive fan, by the way.
All right. We already took that challenge. I'm gonna start doing my sports tour.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I love our teams, man, and gotten to know a lot of the players and the different ones kind of behind the scenes, and just super proud to be here and be part of the Detroit culture.
I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad it's cool.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why Detroit fans love you. You stayed. You've invested in Michigan. You've invested in businesses here. You've given jobs. And this is the way I end every show. It's a perfect segue. I give every one of my guests an opportunity to promo something. You can promo a business. You can promo your brand. You can promo where can people find you. This is your opportunity to promo whatever you want, and we'll link it in the description.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. If I had to do anything right now, it's going back into things I'm passionate about, and that is community and connecting. So I'm going to be starting to do some on Whatnot. I got reeled into that with some people who were doing some really cool stuff and creating great conversation online in a space that had energy. And if you want to be able to do that, we'll make sure you get that channel. We're going to get our Hanging with Herman going. And for those of you who are looking to be a part of that, and you want to come in and have that person-to-person and that storytelling, and my channel is going to be mainly about that. It's going to be storytelling. It's talking about unboxing the 90s, and as which the theme is, and unboxing really just the sports in general, man. It's going to be a fun space, a passion space for me, and it gives me a little bit of a release away from just the business, because, that in itself, we'll continue to kick it doors.
You need to have some outlets.
Yeah, you got to have some outlets and not overdo it too much, and make sure I go back to what makes me really, really, really passionate and happy.
That's good. Well, whatever link you have for me when we release this podcast a couple weeks, we'll make sure we put that in the description. Guys, go follow Herman Moore. You can follow him on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We'll have all the links for you. Brother, this was a blast.
Always.
Thank
you.
Pleasure. Hopefully you had fun.
Always. It won't end here, so we'll continue to have fun.
We'll keep it. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of the Dylan England Show. As always, share with a friend, share with your mom, all those things. Thank you to Herman Moore. Lions great, but business mogul, everything else, plus that and more. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. If you did, let me know. Drop a comment. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.